Opening credits. Self-Defense. Awareness and Training Guide for Kicking Some Serious Butt. Written by Wesley Jones. Narrated by Rick Parody. Introduction. Self-Defense. Are you interested in self-defense information? Any person who is serious about self-defense training or learning how to protect themselves or their family must acquaint themselves with the laws of the land. Self-defense is more than just learning to block, parry, and punch. Self-defense means learning to protect yourself against any situation that can cause you or your family harm. If you were forced to defend yourself and your attacker was seriously injured or happened to die and you found yourself in jail, this would definitely be a situation that you would need to defend yourself against. How can you provide for your family if you are incarcerated? How will you defend yourself against the hardened criminals you may encounter in jail? How will you defend yourself against the laundry room prison gang rape? Self-defense means avoiding trouble in the first place. If you are forced to use your skills to defend yourself, you do so with the least worry or probability that you'll end up on the wrong side of the law as a result. How do you accomplish this? You need to know the laws of your land and how they are applied. Remember, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not offering legal advice, but I will provide you with the basic rules. If you are also Canadian, the following is what you'll want to study. Everyone who is assaulted without having provoked the assault is justified in repelling force by force if the force he uses is not intended to cause death or grievous bodily harm and is no more than necessary to enable himself to defend himself. The critical point here is using reasonable force under the circumstances you found yourself in. If you do cause death or grievous bodily harm, you are justified if you use the force under reasonable apprehension of death or grievous bodily harm. If you genuinely believed that your attacker was going to harm or kill you, and you harmed or killed them in the process of defending yourself, you may well be justified if a judge or jury, under the same circumstances that you found yourself in, would have acted in the same manner. For the purposes of self-defense, provocation includes words, blows, or gestures. Words. Verbal threats of harm towards you that you believe are real. Blows. Actual physical contact in an aggressive manner. Gestures. Motions for actions towards you indicating intended harm. The purpose of this information is to give you generally accepted justification for initiating your self-defense. Obviously, the threat you acted against must have been perceived as a real, and an average person under similar circumstances would have believed the same. Everyone who is lawfully using force is criminally responsible for any excess thereof, according to the nature and quality of the act that constitutes the excess. What this means is that if you use more force than a reasonable person would have used under similar circumstances, you can be held liable for your actions. Do not allow yourself to fall into some legal quagmire. Learn the laws of your land and how they are applied. Commit these rules of engagement to memory and climb the ranks of the modern samurai. Chapter 1. Self-defense weapons, pros and cons. Choosing a self-defense weapon. If you don't have military or police background and aren't a big fan of that movie where people purposely hurt themselves, you probably have never seen a stun gun, taser, or pepper spray. While I believe it's always best for a citizen to learn practical and effective empty-hand self-defense methods first, in some cases, you may not have access to an instructor, and in other cases, it may not be practical for you to take a self-defense class due to physical limitations. If this describes you, then you probably want some sort of self-defense weapon that you can use right now to protect yourself. I understand, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you shouldn't buy something to use for that purpose, because it's your right to defend yourself. But if you don't really know what each device does, you may have a hard time deciding which product best fits your needs. So here's a brief rundown of each product category and what their capabilities are. Self-defense weapons and their pros and cons. Defense sprays, aka mace, pepper spray, tear gas. This is my number one recommendation for a simple self-defense tool that almost anyone can use effectively. If you've used an aerosol can, you can use a defense spray. Defense sprays are chemical sprays that incapacitate an assailant by their irritant or inflammatory effect. The defense sprays that most sites offer mainly rely on an extract of hot pepper plants for their effectiveness. This extract is called oleoresin capsicum, OC. OC is an inflammatory agent that has an instantaneous effect when sprayed into the eyes and face of an assailant. The heat from pepper extracts is measured in Scoville heat units. The typical jalapeno pepper rates at about 2,500 Scoville heat units, while some of the sprays on this website rate at up to 2 million Scoville heat units. So to get an idea of the effect of getting sprayed, just think about the last time you rubbed your eyes after handling a jalapeno pepper and multiply that feeling by about 800 times. Probably the best thing about pepper sprays is the fact that you can hit someone with a good spray from several feet away. And although it usually takes about 20 to 30 minutes for the effect to wear off, there are no long-term ill effects from being sprayed. If you do decide to purchase a defense spray, make sure you get a good quality brand, like Mace, and that you can replace it every 6 months to ensure your spray will work when you need it. Stun guns. A stun gun is a device that relies on a pulsed electrical current to incapacitate an assailant. They are highly effective at stopping an assailant in their tracks, and the loud crackling noise that they make when you hit the on switch can be very intimidating to a would-be attacker. As effective as they are, stun guns do require you to make actual physical contact with the assailant. The stun gun must be brought into contact with the assailant's body to exert its effect. Also, a stun gun, like any weapon, can be turned against you. In addition, thick clothing can sometimes lessen the effect of the stun gun on the assailant. For these reasons, I recommend you choose a good defense spray over a stun gun as the first line of defense. But at close range where there is no room to spray the assailant, without risking spraying yourself, a stun gun could possibly allow you the chance to escape. Tasers. Tasers are basically stun guns that work at a distance. Tasers fire a barbed dart, ouch, that penetrates the assailant's skin. The dart is attached to the handheld unit by 2 wires that deliver the electrical impulse that disables the assailant. Most have 15-foot range and come in 2 designs. The first design looks a lot like the phasers that you have seen on Star Trek. This design costs less and is probably easier to aim if you've never fired a pistol. If you've ever used a remote control to change the channels on your television, you can probably aim this type of taser. The second taser design resembles a pistol and operates in much the same manner, but is equivalent to the standard taser in all other aspects. There are 2 main drawbacks with tasers. Number 1, you have to hit your target. Number 2, you may only have 1 shot and 1 chance to do so. Also, tasers tend to be expensive. The fact is, pepper sprays are easier to use, so when in doubt, just buy a can of pepper spray. Other self-defense weapons. Kobutans. A kobutan, also known as a pocket stick, is a handheld device that attaches to your keychain. The effectiveness of the kobutan in delivering short, powerful strikes to the assailant's vital target areas is unquestionable, if you know what you're doing with it. Get training in empty-handed self-defense first if you plan to buy a kobutan for self-defense. Personal alarms. Personal alarms are devices that emit an extremely loud and high-pitched whistle when activated. Some include hidden switches that can ensure only the owner can deactivate the unit. They are mainly useful for drawing attention to you if you are attacked, because the loud noise they make can bring unwanted attention to the attacker. No criminal wants to get caught, so the last thing they want is attention. At 120 to 150 decibels, personal alarm systems definitely draw a lot of attention. Having said that, my take on them is that they are close to useless for self-defense. My advice is to just buy a good alarm system for your home and carry pepper spray with you in an easily deployed place on your body, preferably on a key ring that you carry with the mace can in your hand, ready to go. Knives and firearms. Are they effective? Of course. But if you decide to carry a knife or firearm for personal protection, I strongly encourage you to research and become familiar with the laws of your state first. If your research leads you to believe it is a legal option in your area, the next logical step would be to seek expert instruction in their usage before you start to carry one for self-defense. Chapter 2. Martial Arts Training. Using a pen for self-defense. One of the biggest problems with most martial arts training programs is the tendency to limit yourself to only learning the official weapons of your chosen style. The alternative is to borrow the ninja's ability to see beyond the form of any particular weapon and recognize the truth that anything can be pressed into service as a weapon and an aid for your own personal self-defense. This book explores the concept of using an ordinary ballpoint pen as a self-defense weapon. Of course, you can feel free to substitute a pencil, marker, or any other item that is of similar shape and size. One of the reasons for learning to use a pen for self-defense is that they are so readily available, and for most people, they either carry or have access to at least one throughout the course of a normal workday. This availability factor makes the pen an excellent choice. Of course, its commonness also makes it virtually invisible to everyone, including your attacker, who will only think of the obvious weapons like guns, knives, clubs, etc. As for a place to begin your training and understanding of how to use a simple pen as a powerful self-defense weapon, the following tactics are offered as examples of how effective this weapon can be in a real-world self-protection situation. There in a pinch. The small size and natural shape of a pen makes it easy to manipulate in your hand. It's also not necessary to conform your hand to the pen, as you will have to do with other weapons such as a firearm. That being said, you can hold the pen in your hand so that you can apply pain techniques by pinching a skin between your thumb and the shaft of your new favorite weapon. The ears, lips, and the thin sensitive skin on the inside of the upper arms and the sides of the neck make perfect targets for the sneaky little ninja technique. Getting your point across. By gripping the shaft of the pen and holding it like a spike or dagger allows you to jab and stab. You can also hold the pen as you would for the pinching techniques above, allowing you to stab and snag whatever body parts get close enough for you to take advantage of. Mightier than the sword. In today's world, carrying a sword might cause you to stand out in a crowd. Do you agree? But we can still borrow some lessons and uses of the warrior's most prized weapon and apply them using the pen. This concept will, except in very rare instances, completely confuse and overwhelm your assailant. While you can slash and scrape the pen across his body targets, this obvious use is not what I'm referring to. What I'm talking about here is drawing the pen in the middle of an attack, just like the master warrior draws his sword when the attacker won't see it coming. Imagine carrying the pen in your shirt pocket and then, while you are avoiding an incoming punch and bringing your hand up to cover, you simultaneously pulled the weapon using the natural movement of your hand and arm. Much like a master magician conceals his moves, the attacker will never see the pen in your hand and will be completely confused and overwhelmed as he tries to make sense of the damage, pain, and wounds that are being caused by what he thinks is your empty fist. Of course, this book can only be a basic introduction to using the pen for self-defense. If you want to take this further and make it a part of your martial arts training curriculum, then I suggest getting information on using the Kobutan self-defense keychain as a basis for your training. Are you looking for effective, time-tested, and proven self-defense skills? Do you want to know how to defend and survive against a bigger, stronger attacker, or even multiple assailants? Download the free self-defense ebook called Fight Smarter, Not Harder right now and learn the secrets to mastering the art of effective real-world self-defense against today's violent attackers. How to punch and kick faster. If you're a martial artist who wants to punch and kick faster, read this book. In case you didn't know, there is more than one type of speed involved in striking. We will discuss number 1, physical speed, number 2, perceptual speed, and number 3, reaction speed. Once you understand these, you can take steps to improve the speed of your punches and kicks. The first type of speed is physical speed. This refers to how fast your strike moves from point A to point B. Although the biggest factor determining physical speed is genetics, there are always ways you can increase it. The primary method to increase the speed of a punch or kick is through high repetitions. The more times you perform the strike, the more coordinated the action becomes. You become more efficient, meaning there are less unnecessary nerves and muscles being fired to perform the action. Some of those muscles that stop firing are antagonistic muscles. In other words, the muscles that fight against the action you are trying to perform with speed. The less antagonistic muscles used, the faster you are. A way to trick your body into using less antagonistic muscles is by practicing your punches and kicks alternatively with no weights, then a small 1 or 2 pound weight, then back to no weights. Try this for yourself. The second type of speed, perceptual speed, refers to how quickly you can perceive the opportunity to strike. This is to a large degree a factor of awareness. Your speed will be greater, therefore, when you are more aware, such as when you are well rested, after drinking caffeine, when your vision is good, and when you use mental anticipation. Additionally, proper training so you know what to look for will increase your perceptual speed. Conversely, it will decrease when you don't get enough sleep, drink alcohol, and are exposed to excessive stimulus that causes you to block out your surroundings. I will refer to the third type of speed here as reaction speed. By reaction speed, I mean the ability to initiate the punch or kick once you've perceived, consciously or subconsciously, that you need to throw it. One of the main factors affecting reaction time is body positioning. For example, if your balance must be shifted before you can initiate the attack, that increases the time it will take for your attack to land. In a self-defense situation, if you stand with your hands in your pockets, or your legs are straight, you must reposition them before you can initiate a powerful punch or kick. Any training tool that forces you to react in time to it, or hits back, will naturally cause you to improve your awareness and therefore your speed. One such tool is the Smart Bag freestanding punching bag. There are more factors involved in speed, but focusing on physical, perceptual, and reaction speed will go a long way towards making you a much faster striker than you currently are. Attacks versus fight fists and posturing. What constitutes an attack? In the martial arts, you hear and read about people who have used their martial art to physically defend themselves in a real situation. Often the defender could have easily avoided the entire situation, but instead, due to any number of circumstances, they ended up in a fight instead. First of all, a physical attack is actually implemented when someone is actually closing the distance towards you and those you care about, or are in some way responsible for, and they are on their way to strike, stab, grab, beat, or otherwise immediately hurt them or you right now. For this to actually be a physical attack, they must also be close enough that within seconds they can actually begin contact and the physical aspect of the attack is imminent. A person who throws their fists up and threatens to beat you up is verbally attacking and physically posturing, but not yet physically attacking. A person who is upset and yelling is upset and or threatening and posturing is verbally attacking, but not yet physically attacking. A person swearing at you is verbally attacking and posturing, but not yet physically attacking. A person who is busting things in the room or kicking your car is posturing and attacking things, but is not yet physically attacking you. You get the idea. When a person attacks you verbally, yelling and threatening, or non-verbally, such as waving their fists, then a response of some kind is still called for. Generally speaking, the response is fairly simple. Either work to help end and bring an acceptable conclusion to the problem, or simply remove yourself from the situation by running or driving away. Awareness is key. If I have parked my car in a parking space that another driver has perceived as their parking spot, and they are cussing me out, all I have to do is move my car so that the other person can park there. It is inconvenient but not worth the trouble that would be created by allowing the situation to escalate to a physical confrontation. By the way, to fight with someone about this type of a situation would not be an attack as much as an agreed-upon fight. When someone is a victim of road rage by another driver, there are many responses that a person can choose. One of the responses is to pull over and physically fight with them. As soon as you pull over and jump out of your car, ready to fist fight, this becomes an agreed-upon fight and not a physical attack. The drunk person who grabs your wrists to ask you for money may not be attacking to kill you, but they are definitely physically assaulting and attacking you. This does not mean that you need to seriously maim or kill them, but it does give you the right to dump them on their tail and disengage yourself from them. It is obvious that they mean no harm. If their intentions are unclear in a potentially threatening way or seem threatening, then I do consider it an attack and will treat it as such. Utilize awareness to the extent that you see the drunk person before they are close enough to put a hand on you, and you simply do not allow them to touch you. And when you are parking your car, see where other traffic is, so that you know if someone else thought the spot was theirs before you are in the parking spot, properly lining up your car between the lines. Also, and very importantly, if someone is approaching so they can physically attack you, then awareness can make all the difference. You see the person approaching and remove yourself completely by driving or jogging away. If the attacker is attacking you at random, then this generally ends the situation. Getting away is the first line of defense and the easiest to use with the least consequences after the fact. Good awareness skills are vital, and properly utilizing them will stop most situations from becoming a physical attack. Chapter 3. How to use a stun gun and properly using pepper spray. A quick reference guide. Stun guns and pepper spray are extremely effective at disabling an attacker. And while they are quite simple to use, there is a right way and a wrong way to use each of them. You will be more confident and effective using your weapon of choice after reading the following advice. Decide if your weapon must be used before your stun gun or pepper spray. Determine if you, in fact, need to use it at all. Are there people around, allowing you to be heard if you call for help? Would a call to police on your cell phone deter a potential crime? Can you talk your way out of the disturbing situation? If the answer to these questions is no, then do not hesitate to use a stun gun or pepper spray. It is the responsible thing to do and can even save your life. You can use either of them safe in the knowledge that they are non-lethal weapons and will not kill your assailant or potential attacker. On the contrary, they will only disable them temporarily. This allows you to make a safe getaway and seek help. Using your stun gun. There are several misconceptions about stun guns and how a stun gun works. A 100,000 volt stun gun is just as effective as a 1,000,000 volt stun gun. It's the small amount of amperage that these weapons emit that incapacitates the assailant. Also, the wrong way to use a stun gun is to point it at your attacker, waiting for him to walk into it. You do not aim a stun gun in the same way that you aim a firearm. Instead, you move it into the attacker, pushing your stun gun into the most accessible part of his body. Do this as you activate the electrical current. You do not want to wait to do this. You want the current active as the stun gun meets the body. The current will travel through the clothing and skin. The most effective targets are the groin, neck, shoulder areas, where there is a lot of muscle mass. Hold the stun gun in place until your attacker becomes disoriented or collapses. This will take anywhere from 1 to 3 seconds. Rest assured, he will not be jumping back up for quite a while. The energy stored in the stun gun is dumped into his muscles, causing them to do a great deal of work rapidly. This rapid work cycle instantly depletes the assailant's blood sugar by converting it to lactic acid. In short, he is unable to produce energy for his muscles, and his body is unable to function properly. The stun gun also interrupts the tiny neurological impulses that controls the direct voluntary muscle movement. When the attacker's neuromuscular system is overwhelmed and controlled by the stun gun, he loses his balance. Should the attacker be touching you while you are zapping him, the current will not pass to your body. Be advised that some states do have stun gun restrictions. New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Maine, Hawaii, Indiana. And legitimate mail order and online companies will not ship to these states. Sometimes using pepper spray for self-defense is your only option. Using pepper spray. One of the more common things you can do when using pepper spray is to hold it out at arm's length and just threaten to use it. An agitated aggressor might grab it from you. Also, by showing it and not immediately using it, you are giving the person the chance to cover their eyes and greatly reduce its effectiveness. You should incorporate a distraction in your defense strategy. What are distractions? They are acts that startle, surprise, or confuse your attacker, making him more vulnerable to your self-defense weapon. These acts include shouting "Stop!", asking a question, and moving towards him instead of running. Do this only when other options are not available. Once ready to fire your pepper spray, make your move when you are certain you will be able to spray him in the facial area with the first spray. As he reels from this first blast, aim directly for his eyes and spray again. Deliver 1 to 3 second bursts of your pepper spray until you see that your attacker is immobilized. As you prepare to spray, Make sure that you slightly bend your knees and try to remain as calm as possible. Locking them into place could cause you to fall or pass out. Try to stay calm. Remember, at this point, you are in control now. The pepper spray is delivering a whole lot of intense pain, swelling, and discomfort to your aggressor. At this point, he is finding it difficult to even breathe. This gives you ample time to escape and seek help. The bottom line is that the advice given here is straightforward. There are not a whole lot of rules to remember when using a stun gun or pepper spray. If you simply follow the instructions outlined here, you can gain the upper hand in the event that you are attacked. It is always better to be prepared instead of wishing you were when it is too late. They are cheap, easy to use, and will keep you safe if you happen to find yourself in danger. Chapter 4. Knees and elbows for self-defense. Proximity to your attacker will dictate the hand-to-hand combatives you use to defend yourself. When your attacker is very close, punches and kicks may not be an option. Knees and elbows are excellent choices when it comes to delivering powerful blows when your attacker is very close. Here are some things to consider when making knee and elbow strikes part of your self-defense training. Advantages of knees and elbows. The advantages of striking with the knees and elbows are many. These include extremely powerful. Knees and elbows are relatively close to your core. They are anchored tightly by your hips and shoulders. This prevents leverage from taking power away from the strike. When done properly, the power of your core can deliver devastating elbows and knees. Effective up close. By definition, up close strikes are hard to see coming and difficult to defend against. Knees and elbows are very hard and put a lot of power on the target. Minimal training. You can learn to deliver effective strikes with your knees and elbows with minimal training. Spend a few minutes on a punching bag, and you will see that you can hit very hard with just a little bit of coaching. Minimal chance of hurting yourself. Striking an attacker can result in injuries to yourself. For example, punching a moving target and hitting an elbow, head, or knee can easily result in a broken hand. This happens all the time. Elbows and knees are less prone to injury when delivering strikes. Strike from many positions. Elbows and knees can be delivered from almost any position. This includes standing, on the ground, lying down, or sitting in a chair. You can control the positions from which you will have to defend yourself. Therefore, make sure you have techniques that are adaptable to the dynamics of any given encounter. Gross motor movement. When you are in a confrontation and your adrenaline is pumping, you will most likely rely upon gross motor movements to defend yourself. Your ability to use fine motor skills will be greatly diminished. Striking with your knees and elbows require only gross motor movements. Targets. When executed with speed and determination, almost any part of the body can be harmed with a knee or elbow strike. Below are some targets that take priority if the situation allows. Thigh. A powerful impact on the thigh is extremely painful and an excellent way to create an avenue of escape. Groin-pelvic girdle. Regardless of gender, getting hit in the midsection or below the waist hurts. A well-placed, powerful blow to the groin can temporarily disable an attacker. Ribs. Ribs are easily broken and are a large target that is painful when struck. The lower floating ribs are excellent targets for knees and elbows. Face. Striking someone in the jaw or chin can have serious results. The jaw, chin, nose, cheeks, upper lip, and mouth are all prime targets. Effective striking. Effective striking takes commitment. By commitment, I mean mental and physical determination to deliver a powerful strike. You cannot hesitate and must land your strikes with a maximum amount of speed and power. Here are a few things you can do to increase the effectiveness of your striking. Weld your shoulder. When throwing elbows, treat your shoulder as if it is welded in place and cannot move. This keeps it from acting as a shock absorber on impact. Furthermore, this forces you to use your powerful core to deliver the strike and not the motion of driving your elbow with your arm. It is imperative that elbow strikes are powered by the rotation of your core and not the movement in your shoulder. Power with your core. Your core is one of the strongest components of your body. Use your core drove strikes. Use your abs and rotation in your core to power your knee and elbow strikes. Brace the target. Bracing the target is a force multiplier that can deliver more power. There is an infinite amount of ways to brace your target. Bracing is simply controlling your target on impact so that it doesn't move back and lessen the blow. Examples of bracing include clenching an attacker's head as you drive a knee into his face, pushing someone against a wall, or a car to prevent them from moving as your blow lands. Combined with tactics. You do not want to telegraph your technique. Telegraphing is when you do something that indicates your intent. For example, let's say you're about to throw an elbow and do a huge wind-up of your waist to load the elbow. Your attacker will know that you're preparing to strike. Rather than telegraph your technique, preface it with some tactics to hide your intent. For example, pretend like you're going to comply with an aggressor and do not want any problems. Raise your arms up slightly and turn your body with one foot in front of the other. Say, "Hey, I don't want any trouble. I will do what you say." In reality, you are not complying. You now have your elbow at the height of the aggressor's jaw, with your core perpendicular to his, and your elbow is ready to be delivered. You can now deliver your strike with little to no telegraphing. Knees and elbows are highly effective techniques that can be delivered by all skill levels. When combined with mindset and tactics, your opponent should have no idea a strike is coming until the impact is felt. How to teach yourself Krav Maga. Krav Maga is a military combative style originated by the Israeli Self-Defense Force. It became popular as a civilian martial arts style during the early 2000s. Like all martial arts, there is no substitute for learning Krav Maga live from a qualified instructor. But you can begin learning the martial art on your own if you live in an area without a Krav Maga school, or if you don't have the time or money for personalized instruction. Basic stance. Step 1. Stand comfortably and upright. Unlike some other martial arts, Krav Maga does not use difficult or esoteric stances. It teaches you to fight while standing like you naturally stand. Step 2. Turn your upper body so your weak arm is pointing towards your training partner. This minimizes your target silhouette and makes you harder to hit. Step 3. Lift both arms by bending the elbows. Your hands closed into fists. Unlike a boxing stance, keep both your arms in front of your face, with your fists just below eye level. Step 4. Bend your legs slightly. You shouldn't feel any kind of burn in your thighs, but you should feel an increased springiness that becomes improved mobility. Step number 5. Experiment with shifting your weight from one foot to the other. Try moving with different distributions of weight to help you begin to understand about how you want to set your weight in different situations. Horizontal elbow strikes. Step 1. Stand in the basic stance, about 3 feet away from your target. Your hips eyes, and lead shoulder should face the target. Shuffle forward until you're less than a foot from your target. This should only take one shuffle. Step number 3. Roll your lead shoulder to strike the target with the elbow in your lead arm. On a human target, aim for the temple or jaw. Support the strike by rotating your hips in the same direction your arm is moving. Step number 4. Reverse the direction of your hips to retract your lead arm. Continue to rotate as you roll your rear shoulder to deliver a second elbow strike with the opposite arm. Step number 5. Shuffle away from your target to assess the situation. Krav Maga Pulse. Step number 1. Begin this technique in the basic stance. Step number 2. Wait for your training partner to throw a punch or another one-hand strike. Step number 3. Shuffle towards your partner as you block the strike by moving your nearest hand upward and outward. Step number 4. Punch your partner with the other hand directly in the sternum. Step number 5. Practice the timing of this technique. Your best results will come when you make the punch as your partner is still moving forward with the momentum of his attack. Things you'll need: 10 by 10 foot training area, training partner, punching bag. Tips: practice each of these techniques 10 to 20 times per day for a month or more. One key to Krav Maga training is the mastery of basic responses to the point that your body remembers them under stress, even when your mind forgets them due to panic. Warnings: even if you practice by yourself, Krav Maga training can cause a variety of injuries. Consult your physician before you begin any Krav Maga program. Wear protective equipment, such as full headgear, hand wraps, and gloves, if you spar with another Krav Maga student. Krav Maga elbow strikes. Most close-quarter strikes are generated from torque and pivoting. These include elbow strikes, headbutts, and hooking elliptical strikes. Make sure the head always leads the body in close-quarter combat when delivering an effective elbow strike. In Krav Maga, there are several variations of elbow strikes. Some of these variations include: Elbow 1. Horizontal elbow strike. The horizontal elbow strike is a good offensive attack for taking down taller opponents and covering longer distances. Delivered the same way as a hook, open your hips to the side when you're striking with and hit the attacker with the last 2 inches of your elbow, where it points. A powerful horizontal elbow can shatter the small bones of the face and head when delivered correctly. Elbow number 2. Lateral elbow strike. The lateral elbow strike is best for defending from an attacker from the side. This elbow strike is used for extremely close quarters, such as an elevator, a bar, in a vehicle, and any other scenario where your attacker can come at you from the side. This is accomplished by moving your hips backward by stepping into an opponent and delivering a strike to the area where the longer head of the tricep meets the elbow. Elbow number 3. Rear horizontal elbow strike. The rear horizontal elbow strike is best utilized if a threat is behind you. To deliver a powerful rear elbow strike, you open your hips, make sure your head is leading the body. Pivot your torso, followed by your elbow backward into a target. This technique is a massive elbow strike and requires a lot of practice, so train this one for precision. Also, rear elbow strikes are excellent for defending against bear hugs and in grappling. Elbow number 4. Uppercut elbow strike. The uppercut elbow strike is ideal for targeting the chin, the torso, and, if you are grappling, the groin. The key to delivering an explosive uppercut elbow strike is by engaging your fast twitch muscle fibers at the very last second, giving the most power. To start, generate all of your power into your hips. Plant the toes on the side of the body you're striking with, and pivot your hips and elbow upwards and make contact with the last few inches of your elbow. A few of the reasons why I love the uppercut elbow is because you can use both leading and rear uppercut elbows to split an opponent's defenses. Elbow number 5. Vertical elbow drop. This elbow strike is best used when you have lowered to the level of your attacker and you want to continue engaging. Most vertical elbow drops target the base of the attacker's skull or the back. Mind you, this is a very dangerous technique to use and should only be used in self-defense. To begin, bring your arms straight up into the air. Pivot the toes of your lead foot of the side you're attacking with like you're putting a cigarette out. Drop the level of your hips and drive your elbow forcefully into the base of the attacker's skull or vital areas of their back. Elbow number 6. The Subway Special. The idea of this elbow strike is that someone is pushing against you from behind. You decide you need to send a message or even deliver a powerful strike to the attacker. From this disadvantageous position, the elbow strike starts by slightly opening your hips and a half step backward, head leading the body, and pivot your torso and drive your elbow into the attacker's chest or groin. Elbow number 7. Uppercut and vertical elbow drop. This strike is an incredibly powerful combination that adds insult to injury by delivering a powerful uppercut elbow, elbow number 4, to the opponent's chin, then immediately delivering a vertical elbow drop, elbow number 5, into the base of the aggressor's skull. This one is highly dangerous, so use good judgment when utilizing this strike. Bonus. Elbow number 8. Over the top elbow strike. This is my favorite elbow strike because of the way my shoulders are set up. Most of my weight is in my upper body. I can generate a lot of power when I need to strike, with a lot of power at a downward angle. This elbow strike is delivered the same way as an overhand punch. To start, lead with your head and hips. Step forward with the foot of the side you're striking with, and as soon as you're within close quarters striking range, pivot your lead foot into the ground like you're stomping a cigarette out and pivot your torso up and over with your elbow following. As always, strike with the harder last few inches of your elbow. Krav Maga is a beautiful, brutal self-defense system which will keep you alive and safe in the fray of the modern world. Utilizing elbow strikes is a huge force multiplier in hand-to-hand combat because of the tremendous power of using proper hip and weight displacement, and how hard and sharp the elbow is. You may not learn these overnight, but practice makes perfect. I hope you've learned a lot about Krav Maga elbow strikes to add to your toolkit. Stay tuned for the next segment of A Beginner's Guide to Krav Maga, where we will discuss the fundamentals of fighting at the intermediate range, which covers knees and punches. Train hard, folks! Chapter 5. Improvised Self-Defense Weapons. How 2 everyday objects can save your life. Having the upper hand is the key to surviving any conflict. The best way to gain the upper hand in a self-defense situation is to utilize a weapon. Don't limit yourself to the usual weapons like knives and guns. Most people don't carry either of these on a daily basis. You don't have to carry a knife or gun in order to have an effective self-defense weapon at your disposal. Here are 2 highly effective, street-proven, improvised weapons that many people carry every day. Improvised self-defense weapon number 1. Keys. Everyone carries keys every day. Lots of people use their keys to open boxes if they don't have a knife or scissors. But you don't know that keys make great improvised brass knuckles too. It's pretty simple too. Just hold the key ring in your palm and arrange the keys so that a couple of them are sticking out in between your fingers. Voila! Instant brass knuckles. One key will work just fine, but a few is better. Go ahead, reach into your pocket and try it yourself. Test it out by lightly punching your arm. Yeah, you can already see how effective this will be. A seasoned street fighter once told me, "Metal on flesh? Metal always wins." The real beauty of this self-defense technique is that you can get it ready to use while your hand is still in your pocket. Surprise is a huge advantage. If you encounter a situation where you think a person is about to mug or attack you, simply put one hand in your pocket casually and raise the other out in a surrender-type motion. This will put the attacker at ease, thinking you will be a nice, easy target. You should always try to avoid a physical confrontation, or if you don't have anything too valuable, just give him your money. Remember, he could have a much better weapon. But if you think you are in real danger and an attack is imminent, then you can quickly draw on your improvised weapon and strike. It will draw blood, and it will cause a lot of pain. Oh, and it will probably scare the attacker too, because he may not realize what just hit him and is causing all that pain. Improvised self-defense weapon number 2. Pocket comb. This may not be as common with younger guys, but a lot of men keep a comb in their back pocket. The comb can be one hell of a good improvised weapon. This isn't some stupid tip that never works. I have had several military-trained, high-level security guards, the guys who protect high-profile celebrities and politicians, tell me about this move. They have all used this trick, so you know how it works. You can use the comb in several different ways. One of the best techniques is to jab with it. The spine on your comb is pretty stiff, and a good shot to the throat will get an attacker stepping back and could even drop him to the ground in pain. There's also a sort of reflex when the throat is hit hard, and that takes out a person's legs. The jab can be used at other targets too, like the eyes, the rib cage, even the groin. Another technique is to rake or slash at the attacker with the teeth side of the comb. They usually have one large and very stiff tooth at both ends, which are great at snagging flesh and causing a lot of pain. This technique is great for the throat, eyes, or back of the head. The key is that if you move quickly, they won't know what is in your hand. They will likely take it for a knife because of the way you're holding it. When you rake it across their throat, the stinging pain will feel at first like a cut. His imagination will run wild, throwing the attacker into a panic, thinking you have just cut his throat open. Fear and surprise are the keys to this self-defense weapon. Your attacker will be caught off guard and distracted, giving you time to flee and otherwise stop the attack. Key to improvised self-defense weapons. Improvised self-defense weapons are only useful when you carry them every day. The secret is learning a couple of weapons work really well and carrying them every day so you are always prepared. You should also not be afraid to improvise on your own. In any self-defense situation, you should be looking for any advantage you can take. Don't limit yourself to what you have heard others talk about or say. Sure, it is best to have a plan and a weapon you like and know how to use, but the key to success is thinking on your feet. The next time you are walking around town, look around you and play a game identifying potential weapons. Do this for a couple of weeks, and soon it will be second nature. If you are attacked, your self-defense know-how will show through. You will spot a piece of pipe or a brick out of the corner of your eye and instantly grab it, taking the advantage and defeating your attacker. Best defense against an armed attacker in the street. It's a question everybody wants to know. What is the best defense against an armed attacker in the street? And with the recent and current economic crisis and high unemployment rate, street crime and the robberies are likely going to continue to be on the rise. It's not worth it to give them what they want. Many robberies and muggings in the street may be done by criminals armed with guns. In this case, the best advice is to give them whatever they want and stay calm. Defending yourself against an attacker armed with a gun is difficult and extremely risky, even for those who are highly trained. You should only attempt to disarm someone in this type of situation if you believe they will kill you anyway, or they will try to take you to another location. Wrap your hand and get ready. Much more common is being confronted by an attacker or robber armed with a knife or broken bottle. Often an attacker in this situation is trying to intimidate you and may back down if you refuse to hand over your wallet. But you are better off cooperating in most situations, unless, as above, you think they will attack you anyways. You can simply run away and live to fight another day, or call the police. But if they seem to be intent on cutting you, it is essential to use anything around you to defend yourself and get anything you can in between you and the cutting edge. Any other cutting object you can find, whether knife or bottle or even a tin can even the fight. But getting into such a knife fight can be extremely dangerous for both sides. If you have no choice but to get in this situation and you have an extra layer of clothes, wrap a shirt or similar around your hand so that you don't get cut on your striking arm, but preferably using any type of bat-type weapon will give you the edge of having a longer reach than your opponent. React quickly and trust your training. MMA training can help you in these situations, but to be able to react quickly enough in these situations, you must have built your muscle memory up sufficiently through constant practicing to be able to act instinctively without needing to think. Chapter 6. The Mace Pepper Spray Gun. It is becoming increasingly difficult for people to defend themselves these days without using lethal weapons. You can thank your government for that. If you live in an area where crime is rampant, you need to get a self-defense mechanism that works without fail. Guns are great, but most people would prefer getting a gun. I do. But due to legal fallout and other concerns, sometimes other options may be best. Take, for example, the Mace Pepper Spray Gun. It gives you a chance to defend yourself without hurting anybody, and most likely without having to deal with a lawsuit from your attacker. Doesn't that last sentence sound just so screwed up? Taking the proximity of your attacker into account, you can use this gun to temporarily distract them while you make a run for it. Light 'em up, aim, and fire. The Mace Pepper Spray Gun has a trigger that is activated with LED light. This light makes it easier for you to see where you are aiming and hit the target. The LED light will also confuse your attacker because they will be caught off guard, thus giving you a chance to get away. This feature comes in handy when it's dark because you will be able to aim better. Pulling the trigger activates this LED light, making it easier for you to hit the target, even when you are in panic mode. You will find this gun more useful than the usual pepper spray cans, which are harder to aim. The Mace Pepper Spray Gun can spray in all directions, even when you accidentally place it upside down. This is an ideal feature because sometimes when a person is attacked, they become disoriented and they cannot think straight. This gun allows the spray to come out like an aerosol from any angle. You can also spray your attacker when they are far away, since the mace gun can spray up to 20 feet away. This is perfect because normal spray cans only work if the attacker is within close range, which is dangerous. Using pepper spray for self-defense. Pepper spray is for self-defense only, in situations where one might have to fight off an attacker. When used properly, pepper spray is an excellent distraction, allowing the victim just enough time to get away. However, pepper spray does not guarantee stopping power or cause paralysis. According to Chris E. McGooey, CPP, CSP, CAM, an assailant can still grab you, punch you, stab you, or shoot you, and will definitely be angrier after being sprayed. If you choose to carry pepper spray as a means of self-protection, think of it as a diversionary tool. Realistically, the chemicals won't stop the assailant, but optimistically, it can buy you a few seconds at best to possibly escape. Why use pepper spray? Pepper spray stops an oncoming attack by causing inflammation of the capillaries around the attacker's eyes and face. It's small and easy to carry, takes little training to use properly, and in most states, it's legal to carry just about anywhere you go. Best of all, pepper spray, unlike other non-lethal defense items, allows you to use the weapon at a distance. Keep in mind that pepper spray is not a save-all weapon, but just another tool against those out to do you harm. Furthermore, you should not rely solely on a single weapon or personal protection device, pepper spray, for self-defense. If pepper spray is still something you are interested in pursuing, take into consideration the following tips from McGooey. Examine your reasons for wanting pepper spray. Take a training course from a professional. Before buying, use pepper spray for self-defense. Don't let children get access to pepper spray. Don't ever use tear gas in a moving vehicle. Try to avoid isolated or dangerous areas. Tear gas canisters must be readily accessible. Use only in dire emergency to aid in an escape. Spray directly into the assailant's face. Avoid contact with the person sprayed. Run away and call the police. Rinse your eyes repeatedly with cold water. If affected, use tearless baby shampoo to cut the oil resin. Self-defense. For practical tips for self-preservation in a dangerous situation, 4 practical tips for self-defense and self-preservation during an attack. But you don't need them, right? Picture the scene. You're walking home one evening. It's a route you've taken countless times. You've never experienced any trouble before. But then, as you pass by that old familiar alley, or under that bridge, or by that thick tangle of undergrowth, the unthinkable happens. Some punk jumps you, perhaps steals from you, definitely beats you, and maybe worse. Everyone has heard a story like this. You've seen it on the news. You've read it in the papers. You've heard about it from friends and colleagues. But nightmare scenarios like these only happen to other people, right? Wrong. Okay, but you'd never put yourself in such a dangerous situation, right? Again, wrong. Life-threatening situations are most often unexpected and unpredicted. They can happen anytime, anywhere. They can happen to people from all walks of life on any given day. You can minimize the risks by paying attention to your surroundings and using common sense, but you can't eliminate them entirely. Nor can you expect others to be around to help you if the worst happens. What you can do is free yourself from fear by learning valuable self-defense techniques that may well save the lives of both you and your loved ones. Here are a few self-defense tips that might help avoid turning a bad situation into a fatal one. Number 1. Trust your instincts. Sometimes little things, almost imperceptible to those who don't have the training to notice them, can trigger feelings of unease. Chances are, if something feels wrong, it is wrong. Don't assume that something or some place is safe just because other people say it is. Effective self-defense techniques include threat awareness techniques that can help you to avoid dangerous situations before they have a chance to develop into something even worse. Number 2, be visible. Most attackers are opportunists. They exploit their victims by intimidating them into quiet compliance. If you scream and shout and make yourself and your assailant as visible to others as possible, your assailant might flee rather than risk any further attention. Doing this is not always easy, but the confidence that comes from learning practical self-defense techniques can give you tools to overcome your fear. Number 3, keep your distance. Engaging in a physical struggle should always be the last resort. If you can escape a potentially dangerous situation by fleeing to the nearest well-lit, populated area, great. Self-defense techniques should be protective, and nothing is a more effective means of self-defense than a safe escape. Number 4, if given no other choice, offer maximum resistance for a minimum of time. There are times when none of the above tips will be able to help you avoid a physical confrontation, and you will need to resort to hands-on self-defense techniques in order to protect yourself. Keep your actions simple. Keep them furious. Keep them brief. Brief, intense resistance may be enough to shock your assailant or unbalance him long enough to provide you with the opportunity to escape. Remember that unlike sports-based combat methods, the aim of practical self-defense techniques is self-preservation and the minimization of personal injury, not the physical domination of others. Self-defense techniques, avoidance, awareness, health, and safety. The best form of self-defense is to not be there. It's kind of obvious, but it's the one part of the picture that is often ignored. Obviously, it is not always possible to avoid a situation, which is when your martial arts skills will be invaluable in one way or another. Common sense tips to avoid a situation, or rather, to greatly reduce the chances of one occurring, should be based around avoiding trouble spots. These may be certain dodgy areas in a city where the likelihood of trouble is relatively high. Certain locations may be safe by day, but decidedly unsafe by night. It's probably not a good idea to take that shortcut through the park at night. Then, on a smaller level, it is sensible to avoid seats where potential troublemakers sit on public transport. In my city, that means sitting downstairs on the bus. Alternatively, it could mean crossing the road instead of walking through a crowd of teenagers, or walking away from a heated discussion in a bar. These measures are prudent, safety-first procedures that could save your life, but you will never know. Think of these as essential health and safety for modern living. Awareness, health, and safety. Now, to successfully avoid these situations, there needs to be a certain amount of awareness of what is going on around you. That is an article or two in itself, so will just be mentioned here. If you are walking through a dangerous area with an iPod blasting out music, you fail on both counts. You haven't avoided the danger in the first instance, and you are reducing your ability to be aware of any incoming potential danger. Not good health and safety. If you do find yourself in a situation that is careening towards a violent confrontation, either as a result of a lack of or despite health and safety, this no longer matters. All your faculties need to be on the situation at hand. You have to quickly decide whether you will strike the bad guy or not. All situations are different, but you will probably have a chance to back off or talk your way out of the situation. This is all dependent on the other person or people. There can be no definitive answers. You need to make a judgment call. If you decide that you won't hit the bad guy just yet, you will need to leave, or, if not possible, diffuse the situation. Be aware that you may have to strike if the situation escalates. Your diffusion technique may not work. Avoiding the situation is the best option. Being aware in the first instance will help you avoid any trouble, but if it does arrive, the best self-defense option may be to run. If not, you may have to diffuse the situation to stay safe. Successfully diffusing a potentially violent confrontational situation can save you a lot of bother and even your life. There are many techniques you can use, but if the one you decide on fails, you can always revert back to an earlier stage in the process, leave or strike, or try another. One way to diffuse the situation is to use distraction techniques. These can be extremely effective. Knowing when to fight and the need to fight. Sometimes being in a fight or being in a volatile and aggressive situation can be a frightening ordeal to experience, even if you have years of fight training. When the local school bully in the campus challenges you to a fight, or when a thug tries to mug your wife, it is quite natural to feel powerless and utterly surprised before you can make a wise move. After the shock wears off, it is rather justifiable, bludgeoning the offender all the way to jail. Still, it pays to be a peacemaker when you know how to injure people. A martial artist can't just travel around harassing anybody. Surely, if you are a bona fide martial artist, you know the rules of engagement. You also know that almost every kind of systematized martial art has its own code of ethics, and almost all of these have to do with respect to your fellow man, and do not use force in a needlessly belligerent way. Many of these martial arts, especially the Eastern forms, teach peace, tranquility, brotherhood, solidarity, and especially self-control. Quite ironic for arts that are based on producing as much pain as possible. It is also highly expected for martial art gurus, senseis, saifus, and masters to be in control of their own emotions and impulses. A rough and easily offended martial artist is a disgrace to his or her dojo and the art with which the person represents. That kind of person is likely to be the one to initiate fights over the smallest of matters, forgetting that personal honor is the hallmark of most Eastern disciplines. Being a wise student of a martial art entails wisdom and self-control in all movements and actions, only fighting when the real threat of danger rears its ugly head. The situation or the fight can be a place of honor or disgrace. Even worse, it can be a matter of life and death. They said that discretion is the better part of valor, and certainly some of the most respected martial artists have been known to flee from impending battles when they know they will be bested and overwhelmed, or when obtaining prestige and honor is simply not worth it. If you are a smart fighter, you will run at the first hint of opportunity. If not, then you will be forced to fight, but only because you need to contain the situation, apprehend the perpetrator, or simply to incapacitate the opponent for your group to be able to escape unharmed. Best spyware detection. Keeping up with the latest spyware threats. Less than 10 years ago, a virus could not corrupt a BIOS, or could cause a hard drive to fail. Today, every type of threat to computer security has gotten more complicated and efficient. Perhaps it should come as no surprise that spyware is also evolving at an alarming rate. If you use the best spyware detection programs, you should be able to manage most of these security issues as they come along. Stealth malware threats. Unfortunately, almost anyone can buy software that will monitor every action on a remote computer. Because there are so many versions, detecting them is a bit like keeping up with variants of computer viruses. As with antivirus scanners, you can obtain anti-spyware programs. that include a heuristic scanner. As may be expected, some scanners are better than others. In general, if you select a best spyware detection program, you should also gain access to a good quality stealth threat scanner. Convergence issues. Even though computer security professionals categorize security risks, there is an increasing trend towards convergence. As an example, spyware may alter registry files in such a way that your computer crashes. On the other hand, virus authors may develop malicious code that seeks to gain information as opposed to simply destroying it. Therefore, you should not overlook anti-spyware programs that can detect and eliminate security threats that do not fit into an exact category. When searching for the best spyware detection system, you should be doing more than simply keep up with current issues. Instead, it will be to your advantage to find software that will evolve in a way that ensures effective control of future threats. Unfortunately, ignoring these areas can easily create endless computer-related problems. Chapter 7. Which personal self-defense weapon works the best? Pepper sprays, stun guns, kobutans, they all work well for preventing an assault. But does one self-defense weapon really work any better than another? There is no short answer to this question. Each personal defense weapon has advantages as well as disadvantages. I've already written a number of articles on how some of these weapons work, so this time I'll just attempt to give you a brief description of the pros and cons of some of the more popular self-defense weapons, and then only you can decide which one works best for you. Pepper spray. Pepper spray is an excellent self-defense weapon, but it does have limitations. The chemical heat generated from defensive sprays works extremely well at stopping an attacker in their tracks. Pepper spray causes an almost instantaneous inflammation of the mucous membranes in the eyes, nose, throat, and lungs of your attacker, causing them a great deal of pain, as well as the inability to open their eyes or catch their breath, thus allowing you to get away. The average pepper spray on the market today has a range of anywhere from 8 feet up to 20 feet, allowing you to use the device from considerable distance away from your would-be attacker. The limitations of pepper spray are that your attacker must be hit in or around the area of their face for it to be effective. Unfortunately, wind conditions can have an effect on the direction of the spray. Also, many assaults happen from behind or by surprise, making it difficult to take aim with a defensive spray. On the other hand, if you have your pepper spray ready and are alert enough to your surrounding to avoid being surprised, then pepper spray is possibly the most effective, non-lethal defense weapon you can have. Stun guns. Stun guns are another excellent self-defense weapon. They use electrical voltage to disrupt the muscle functions of your attacker. The voltage produced by a stun gun causes some pain, but more importantly, they interfere with the neurological impulses from the brain to the muscles, rendering your attacker unable to control their muscle function. The downside to a stun device is that the electrodes must come into contact with your target. That means that your attacker has to be right in your face before you can use the weapon against them. On the plus side, stun guns are effective almost anywhere on the body, so if you are attacked from behind or surprised, you don't need to take aim as you would with the defensive sprays. Just reach around and jam the weapon into your attacker's body. Then push the button. Kobutans. Kobutans are possibly the most popular of all self-defense weapons. One reason is that the kobutan is a highly effective pressure point weapon that is considered non-lethal and legal almost everywhere. I say almost everywhere because even though I don't know of anywhere that they're not legal, I also don't know every law in every city in the country. I will, however, say this. If they are illegal somewhere, that law needs to be changed. Another reason kobutans are so popular is that they are extremely easy to carry. While there are a number of different styles of kobatans, the average one is a little more than a stick that's about 5.5 inches long and a half inch in diameter. They can easily be carried in your pocket, and most of the kobatans today have a key ring attached to them, which makes them readily available whenever you are carrying your keys with you. Knives. Knives are rarely used for self-defense purposes. While they can make an excellent self-defense weapon, few people are truly prepared to cut or stab another person. There's something about slashing another human being that would make most people all too aware of just how soft and fragile their own bodies are. Handguns. The final weapon that I'll talk about today are handguns. What can be said about a gun that hasn't already been said? Handguns are possibly the ultimate self-defense weapons. Even someone with minimal intelligence is likely to stop whatever they're doing when they find themselves looking down the barrel of a loaded gun. The only downside to guns is that almost anyone can pull the trigger of a gun and kill another person. Even a small child can accidentally shoot and kill someone with a handgun. A number of people are accidentally killed every year by someone who didn't know how to properly use a gun. This can make guns very dangerous in the wrong hands. Pepper spray? The best self-defense weapon? Pepper spray or mace is a common name for OC spray, made from oleoresin capsicum, also known as OC gas, and capsicum spray, is a lacrimatory agent. These are chemical compounds used to irritate the eyes and cause tears, pain, and maybe temporary blindness. This pain and temporary blindness gives the user time to get away in the event of an attack from people, dogs, or other animals. Pepper spray is considered a less than lethal agent, but when police agencies first started using a self-defense spray, there were reports of death with pepper spray being a contributing factor. In a study from 1992 to 1995, in California where police officers had used pepper spray 16,000 times, or 24 times a day, there were 26 deaths associated with people who pepper spray had been used on. In the series of 26 deaths examined by the ACLU from records obtained from the EPA, autopsy and medical examiner reports, there were no conclusive link between a self-defense spray and these unfortunate deaths. Factors as drug use, alcohol use, injuries from resisting arrest, and pre-existing conditions were determined as the cause of death. It was agreed by the California Police Departments and the ACLU that pepper spray or mace should only be used to only incapacitate an individual with the use of 1-second bursts. It should never be used as punishment or street justice. It is recognized that there are some individuals that could get prolonged harm from the use of tear gases, but by use of 1-second bursts, this reduces any residual effects to an acceptable level. Today, it is estimated that over 3,000 police agencies use pepper spray, including the FBI, military, and several other federal agencies. After initial application of a self-defense spray, the victim involuntarily closes their eyes and feels a burning or bubbling in the eyelids. Coughing usually follows, and the individual may choke for a period of time. The victim should be encouraged to breathe normally and blink the eyes to cause tearing. Water will not wash off the pepper spray residue. Use of a contact lens wetting solution seems to help clear the eyes. At all times, rubbing of the eyes and skin should be avoided, and effects have been known to last for up to 4 hours. However, normal recovery of vision and coordination of the eyes should be expected in 7 to 15 minutes. For a potential victim of a crime, one must analyze what means are available to protect the victim. Escape is always the best means, and when it comes to life-threatening danger, there is nothing more valuable as a human life. Giving the criminal money or other goods is inconsequential when it comes to protecting a life. The average citizen is not mentally equipped to fire a gun at another human being. Law enforcement officers are specially trained not only in gun handling, but psychologically to handle these events. History has shown us if an average citizen pulls out a gun, it usually ends up in the hands of the criminal and is used by the criminal. Also, the remorse that follows the shooting of another human being is something that is hard to cope with. In some cases, family members and friends have been mistaken for intruders due to high anxiety levels or poor lighting. The answer for the average citizen is to obtain self-defense spray. There are many brands and types of containers, as well as the way the agent disperses. We find pepper spray, pepper gel, tear gas, mace, and self-defense spray used as some of the common names. As citizens of the United States, we will expect to live free of murder, rape, or robbery. We have the right to bear arms. I believe we can meet these objectives with the prudent use of a pepper spray or mace product. If you find yourself on the other side of a self-defense product in the hands of the police or other authorities, comply with the instructions. They are trained to use the pepper spray properly, and if you comply with the instructions, it will not be used on you. One last thought before you carry a self-defense spray is, after using it, escape, run away, and go to the authorities to report the incident. As important as it is for you to protect yourself with the spray, it's just as important that the incident be recorded properly to protect you from false accusations. Defending your family and home from looters. Know your legal rights. Crime is on the rise in virtually every major metro city in the United States, and majority of these crimes are home invasions and burglaries. That is why a lot of homeowners are now installing home security cameras and motion detectors in their home to prevent and deter criminals from burglarizing their homes. Because everybody wants to have the peace of mind knowing that their loved ones are safe and well protected. Similarly, not only do you have a legal right to defend yourself, your family, and your home, you also have the basic fundamental human right to property protection. However, defending your family and property can sometimes be legally complicated. Since these laws are not legislated by the federal government, they vary from state to state. So you need to have a clear understanding of the self-defense laws in your home state. For instance, a burglar breaks into your house and realizes you're in the house. He jumps out the window and starts running. You cannot chase him down the street and shoot him and claim you are defending your property. In December of 2009, a Detroit man was charged with second-degree murder for killing a burglar a block and a half away from his home. Although you are required by law to flee first if someone is trying to attack you on the streets, however, you can use deadly force on anyone trying to attack you in your home without having to flee first. But the force you use must be proportionate to the harm you are trying to prevent. In an incident in September of 2010, a Long Island, New York man was charged with reckless endangerment for firing warning shots into his lawn when some members of a notorious gang showed up at his home, verbally threatening him and his family. The law states that you can only use deadly force to deter deadly force. Furthermore, you are advised to verbally warn an intruder before using deadly force. This is because the intruder could be your neighbor with Alzheimer's disease that mistook your home for his, or could be your teenage daughter's boyfriend trying to sneak into your home. Now, if you seriously injure or kill someone, you will be arrested. The police will not assume you were acting in self-defense. You will have to defend yourself again in a court of law. So do whatever you can to avoid situations where you have to use deadly force. Install security cameras, home alarms, and motion detectors in your home to discourage these scumbags from coming near your home. But use deadly force if you have to, because I would rather defend myself again in a court of law than be killed or seriously injured. Benefits of pepper spray and proper use. Pepper spray is a valuable self-defense weapon. Both women and men can benefit from carrying it. They come in a variety of strengths and sizes. Some are disguised as women's lipstick, or even a ring that you can wear. Pepper spray is priced so anyone can afford it. Fend off your attacker while you are jogging, on a date, and in any violent act towards you. Pepper spray can be used against dogs, bears, and human attackers. Pepper spray usually comes in the form of aerosol with an active ingredient known as OC, oleoresin capsicum, which is chili peppers. The heat of the chili peppers is determined by the amount of capsicum in it. Capsicum is 15 million Scoville units when pure, with it being between 2 million to 5 million in the majority of pepper sprays. If you are a big jalapeno pepper eater, you can eat them at just 5,000 Scoville units. So imagine what it would be like to ingest pepper spray. When pepper spray is used on an attacker, it inflames mucous membranes such as the person's nose, eyes, throat, and lungs. This causes the attacker to instantly close their eyes, and they could temporarily lose their sight. They may also encounter breathing problems from the pepper spray being so pungent. These effects can last 30 to 40 minutes or even longer, depending on how much the strength is. This is the best self-defense weapon because once the attacker is incapacitated, you can quickly flee. You do not have to worry about causing permanent damage to someone. The effects are temporary. Once you have purchased pepper spray, practice with it. This way, if you are faced with the situation of having to use it, you will be prepared. Aim it away from your face and arms. Practice aiming so that if need be, you will know how to aim at the attacker's face. Remember that if you need to use it, try to aim quick and back away so that the spray doesn't hit you. If you do get some of it on you, it may burn. Water will not help, so use milk or sour cream to help ease the sensation. If you get some spray in your eyes, blink as much as possible. The effects should ease 30 to 40 minutes afterwards, depending on how much you came into contact with. Pepper spray is legal in America, but a few states have restrictions. So before purchasing, be sure to check what your state allows. Owning pepper spray is not only inexpensive, it has saved lives. It is great for the elderly, men, women, and even families. It is simple to use, conceal, and carry in your purse, pocket, or jacket. If you do not own one yet, order some today so you will have the right protection in case need be. The importance of non-lethal self-defense. Being the victim of a crime can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. Hopefully, no criminal will ever make you their target, but if they do, you need to be able to defend yourself, to fight back. There are some experts who would advise you not to fight back, but instead to comply with the criminal's requests and to call the police if you can. The truth is that law enforcement officers are first responders. They respond after the bad thing has happened, or is happening. Depending on where you live, it may take them an extended period of time to arrive, so relying on their presence to save you is a bit of a risky gamble. Passively complying to the criminal's request, hoping they won't hurt you or your family, is also a game I don't suggest playing. The best choice is to be able to defend yourself. Very simply put, you are your own first line of self-defense. How to defend yourself is a matter of choice and preparedness. I've heard a lot of people say, "If someone attacks me, I'll just kill them." While this sounds true and makes them feel powerful, the reality is that very few people are truly prepared to take the life of another human being, even in self-defense. There are also the legal implications. If someone threatens you, and you can prove to a judge that you reasonably believed your life was in jeopardy, you may be within your rights to kill them in self-defense. But if they are unarmed and are merely intimidating you with their physical size, you are likely to face criminal charges if you take their life. Even if you don't face criminal charges, you may expose yourself to civil liability. Legal fees and other expenses can be crushing, and you will likely spend years resolving the issue. There are many ways to defend yourself. You don't always need to take another life just to protect your own. Additionally, when you prepare yourself with non-lethal methods of self-defense, you are more likely to take action without the hesitation that accompanies the moral dilemma of taking a life. So what are some forms of non-lethal self-defense? Avoidance. Avoiding crime in the first place seems like an obvious way to protect yourself from crime. However, unless you live in utopia, there is always a chance that someone will be willing to make you a target. It is wise to remember that there is always someone who wants what you have. It could be your material goods, your body, or your life. No matter how little you think you have, someone else has less, and they may just be willing to eliminate you to get it. Yes, there are places and situations that are inherently safer than others, but relying merely on avoidance is not an end-all solution to self-defense. You still need to be able to defend yourself, just in case. Verbal self-defense. Verbal self-defense basically means using your voice for self-defense. Verbal self-defense can be deceptive in nature. You can try mumbling to yourself in an angry tone, hoping your aggressor thinks you're mentally unstable and leaves you alone. Or you can aggressively threaten your attacker, hopefully causing them to realize they picked the wrong person to mess with. It can also be talking to them in a calm, cold voice and saying something like, "I really don't want to go back to prison again. You need to go find yourself someone else to pick on today." Another form of verbal self-defense is to scream fire or rape or help to attract the attention of others in the area. Most criminals don't want an audience, and if you attract unwanted attention to them, they may take off in search of a quieter target. If you're unable to scream for whatever reason, physical or psychological, then consider buying a personal alarm to do the screaming for you. Which brings me to our next form of non-lethal self-defense. Self-defense devices. Personal alarms, pepper sprays, stun guns. These are three of the most basic non-lethal self-defense items. Personal panic alarms. Personal alarms are small devices that work by either pushing a button or pulling a pin from the device. They emit a loud siren-type noise that can often send an attacker running off in search of a less noisy target. At the very least, they can attract attention to your situation and possibly bring assistance from people nearby. Pepper sprays. Pepper spray is the most common non-lethal self-defense weapon. It can disable most attackers for 15 to 45 minutes or more, allowing you plenty of time to get to safety. Stun guns. Stun guns work by introducing a high impulse current of electricity directly to your attacker's muscles. The 2 to 5 second contact will override the body's voluntary muscle control and can temporarily disable the person for 2 to 10 minutes. While these self-defense devices are all good methods of non-lethal self-defense, they do have one major limitation. If you don't have them with you, they won't do you any good at all, which is why this next step is probably the most important. Learn some self-defense techniques. All the previous steps are effective, but there are situations where you might have available to you is your physical ability and willingness to fight back. You may not have the time or money to take a self-defense class, but you can learn 1 or 2 self-defense moves, such as eye jabs or shin kicks. The key is to practice them over and over again until you have mastered them and can perform them quickly and decisively. Chapter 8: Self-Defense, Basic Human Rights. It is part of your basic human rights to defend yourself against an attack, an assault, or when the situation requires you to. But of course, this is not as easy as you may think it is. You have to undergo some preparations and training depending on what self-defense option that you want to consider. You can consider using self-defense devices or learn some self-defense techniques. But you have to know what you should exactly do when the time comes, that you have to defend yourself. So how can you properly defend yourself against an attacker? In the event that you have already attacked a robber and the like, the first thing that you should do is to remain calm and focused. This is really hard to do, knowing that you are already in great danger, and this is what you must do. You also have to react quickly as soon as the attacker is near you or has already touched you. The main reason for this is that you should not wait for the attacker to get a hold of you because by then it would be more difficult to defend yourself. Make use of all your strength to fight back and never consider the thought of holding back because it's not the best time for that. Give the attacker your best shot because you may not have another chance. However, you have to make sure that when the attacker is no longer a threat, you should stop whatever it is that you are doing. When you are in the process of defending yourself, you are allowed to do whatever you want unto the attacker, but once it is already evident that the attacker is no longer a threat to you, you should stop because charges can be filed against you if you do not stop using your self-defense weapon on him or her. If you are carrying a stun gun with you, you have to get it quickly and stun the attacker in his or her chest, neck, hips, because these are the areas where there's a high concentration of nerves. The electric volt or electric shock released by this device will be enough to immobilize or incapacitate the attacker, giving you time to run for help. If you have pepper spray instead of a stun gun, you can immediately spray it on the attacker's eyes so that he or she will become temporarily blind. And while the attacker is not able to see anything yet, you can run as fast as you can and call the cops. And when you already have the chance to run and escape, make sure that you won't waste a single second of your time. You can go to a place where there are many people, or a place where you can be safe. When you are already far away from the attacker, you can call the police officers or the cops immediately so that they can respond and catch the attacker before the effect of the stun gun or pepper spray wears off. Top 10 tips for your home and property security. A property that presents itself as unoccupied and insecure is far more likely to be targeted than one which is properly secured. Don't let it happen to you. Whether you are leaving your property for a few minutes, an hour, a day, or a week or more, it is imperative that you take as many measures as you can to deter would-be burglars. The last thing you want or need is an intruder or intruders in your property. Apart from the probable loss of your belongings, for most people, it is a very traumatic experience and should be avoided at all costs. Top 10 tips for peace of mind. Burglar alarms. All properties should be fitted with a burglar alarm. There are many different types on the market, and even if you buy a dummy siren or camera, it's better than having nothing. Windows. The favorite area for burglars to enter properties is out of sight, at the rear, where they will probably try to force a window to gain entry. As breaking windows attracts unwanted attention, this would be the last resort, so fitting visible key-operated window locks, particularly in downstairs windows and patio doors, is essential. Doors. External doors should be fitted and secured to a high standard, and they must be strong and in good condition. Security will be improved by fitting mortise deadlocks and extra sliding bolts. French doors are much weaker, so both doors should have fittings at the top and the bottom. For extra security when you are in the house, fit a chain and viewer to your front door. Lighting. Fit outside lights that are operated by a sensor switch, which activates when movement is detected. Intruders will not want to be in the spotlight, so fit these to the front, side, and rear of the property as necessary. Gates and fences. Strong 6 feet high fencing at the rear of the property will make it more difficult for an intruder to gain access than a low or weak fence. Growing thorn bushes inside fencing also acts as a deterrent. Make sure any gates are bolted from the inside and the bolts are out of reach from the outside. Don't leave valuables in sight. If it is difficult to see into your property, you are less likely to be burgled by the opportunist thief. Fit blinds or net curtains and make sure that any valuable items are stored away. Spare key. Never leave a spare key in any location outside of the property. This could easily be found by an average burglar and makes their life much easier. Install a safe. If you have valuable items or cash in the property, buy a safe and have it fitted in a hidden location. You can also lock away passports, credit cards, etc. Mark your property. If you are unfortunate enough to be burgled, your stolen possessions can be identified if they are recovered. You can etch your surname and postcode onto items or use an ultraviolet marker. Don't advertise your absence. Do not ever give details of dates you are going on holiday other than to family or close friends. When you are away, make the property look as lived in as possible. Leave a car on the driveway. Use timers on the lights. Ask a neighbor to clear your post and papers or magazines. Car security, car alarm with immobilizers could be your solution. For any car owner from any part of the globe, car security could be one of the major concerns. When someone leaves his or her car in the garage or in front of their home in the night due to paucity of space, they are concerned about the theft of car or its valuable parts. Similarly, when they are shopping or are in some public place, they have to park the car outside. If they are on some tour or travel and the car unfortunately breaks down, or if they are on some family trip, like a picnic or excursions, and the car is to be left at some distance, the security automatically becomes a prime concern. Unscrupulous thieves and burglars take advantage of such systems and deprive you of your valued possession within a matter of minutes. This is one of the greatest concerns of the car owners as well as the car makers all over the world. This is why the car manufacturers have been coming up with multiple types of accessories and gadgets to solve the problem. One of the most popular such security gadgets is the car alarms that is meant to provide timely warning and alert the owner, security services, or the law enforcement agencies, keeping the thieves and burglars at bay. However, there was one cliché in the same. Alarms can be immobilized by a cunning burglar, and that brings up a real problem for the car owners. Therefore, they were on the search out for something that would sort out the problem once and for all, and will not only keep the car secure, but will also help keep the valuable accessories like the car stereos, car audio, or the car subwoofers safe and sound from unscrupulous thieves and burglars. You need not lose heart, since there is a solution to the problem. You can use a car alarm with immobilizers fitted in it. There are multiple excellent products available today that could really help in keeping your car and all its parts secure. Burglars and thieves put eyes not only on the valuable additional parts or accessories, but also on valuable engine parts in any new model car. Therefore, if the alarm system is such that cannot be immobilized, it will be a great repellent for such unscrupulous people and uninvited intruders. Best bet for you would be the alarm with single immobilizer. The reason is that when you install one such alarm, the car cannot be started before the alarm is disarmed via remote. Conversely, if you already have an alarm installed and want to modify it to convert it into such a mobilizer alarm, then you can either take the step of some expert agency providing such immobilizer alarms or accomplish the task yourself by using their manuals and guides. Importance of car security alarms. The concept of car security is new, but it justifies its requirement. Cars are available in top-end models, sedans, hatchbacks, and even lower-range economy models. Have you ever wondered as to why people prefer sedans over top-end models when economies solve the same purpose in 1/10 of the investment? The reason is that people relate cars to pride. Your home doesn't move with you, but your car has to be parked according to the circumstances. Would you leave your car which you have bought with your hard-earned money without security? People do, and pay the price. Music systems, logos, and in worst cases the entire car is stolen within a few minutes. You might park your car just to drop your little ones off at their school, and the next moment your car disappears. This is not a film plot, but a true sequence. People do check if doors of their cars are properly locked, but what more do they do? Nothing. You cannot ride your luck every day. They say thieves think a step ahead. Many cars do not come with any inbuilt systems, or at the most, have an average security which thieves have mastered by now. The best solution here is to check your requirement, collect information about car security systems, and invest in one. After due consultations with some experts, security work in many different ways. Some basic car systems available nowadays are as follows: car lock alarm, steering wheel alarm, motion sensors, fingerprint security, electronic door locks. Some systems have built-in sirens for protection, and some have systems which intimate the nearest police station in case any attempt is made to get into your car with mechanical instruments. Such is the effect of better systems that thieves give such cars a miss. Like home security, car security alarms work in many ways, but the basic purpose remains the same: security. Systems can be molded to fit into any car and can be customized as per your requirements. Self-defense pepper spray for peace of mind. Unlike other means of self-defense pepper spray is legal to carry in many parts of the world and is relatively easy to use. Carrying self-defense pepper spray is an efficient way of guaranteeing safety in areas of high crime or situations where you might get into some trouble, and it can also be used to subdue feral dogs and bears. How it works is by causing inflammation of the eyes and mucous membranes, which is sufficient to confuse and distract the target of the product. This gives the person or animal enough pain to stop pursuing you. Also, you aim at the eyes so that it is really hard for them to see. All these factors will give you enough time to get away and get to safety. It is used by law enforcement for riot control, as pepper spray is easier to control and is safer than chemical-based tear gas sprays. Therefore, it is legal in many jurisdictions that prohibit untrained persons from carrying chemical-based self-defense agents. Usually, pepper spray for personal self-defense usage is sold in small canisters, but pepper spray guns are available legally in some markets. There are a whole plethora of containers for this product, often disguised as lipstick containers or cell phones. This makes them an easy target to carry around in a purse, as your predator will be unsuspecting. There are restrictions regarding the use and sale of pepper spray in various countries throughout the world, but it is legal, with only minor restrictions in most of the United States. This product is regarded as a safe and easy-to-use means of dealing with a criminal or animal attack. When used by responsible individuals for the proper purpose, it can save the lives and the lives of those around them. Make sure to become aware of any restrictions regarding the use of possession of this product when traveling abroad. In addition, read all instructions so as to become familiar with the use of the canister, which is used to dispense it, and make sure that it is easily accessible in situations where it could become necessary. Having this way to protect yourself is a good idea not only for the situations where you come in contact with danger. You will also have a peace of mind. No one should live in fear. You should be able to come and go without the feeling like you could be harmed. This product ensures that feeling of peace and safety. The war is knock, knock, knocking at your door. Cities that have stood for centuries have been rocked by widespread violence. The children of immigrants who came to Europe post-World War II as part of guest worker programs have rejected modern society, are now frustrated by unemployment, and have cast aside the holy and peaceful Islamic teachings of their parents in despair. Individuals not unlike the 911 terrorists are giving hopeless people a bogus cause, enlisting them in their holy army. Activities like vandalism, drug dealing, arms trafficking, and killing civilians in acts of terror are offered and acted upon. Not all crime can be blamed on terrorist rhetoric, but it is a disturbing trend. Because firearms are banned in many European countries, citizens and even the police are defenseless as these fanatic criminals and agents of terror fight for control of the streets and culture. Among the gang members who stalk the streets of Oslo, Paris, and other European cities, some simply fight for terrorists in their countries, while others see every fight as part of a global war against non-believers. Police resources are stretched thin, and in several European nations, they are quickly realizing that better weapons do not guarantee victory. There are many neighborhoods that police fear to enter, and the average citizen is not able to protect themselves from gang violence and extortion. Police lack the training to deal with the urban pandemonium that they are exposed to on a daily basis. And while the issues leading to the violence are complex and not easily resolved, keeping safe on the street is a little clearer. Whether you fight to survive or you become another innocent victim in the war. Remember, this is not the first time in history that gangs and psychotic fanatics were a threat to peaceful civilian living. In fact, similar conditions existed in Shanghai, China, during the first half of the 20th century. Gangs of thugs ruled the city, and the police department was badly outnumbered. That was until William Fairbairn, a World War I veteran and hand-to-hand combat expert by way of Japan, cleaned house and led the charge to take back the city. Just like in Shanghai, many European cities are in imminent danger of being destroyed from within if good people do not start to fight back. Canadian and U.S. cities are not that far behind on the list. Productivity profiles. The police officer. We forbid you to sell short. This is what you could call a police officer speaking, telling you what to do, and most of all, what you shouldn't. Similar roles are those of the referee. Did it help? The short selling rule didn't help because it was not credible. If you tell someone not to do something, he will wonder, why not? Please turn off the loud music. This is a request from someone who doesn't like your music. Please don't hit me. This is from someone who is afraid. Please don't. The role of the police officer is to check whether rules are being followed. This is being done with a simple punishment mechanism. It is, however, not clear whether this role will influence behavior. Tell people not to do something, and they will not listen. In the case when the rule doesn't make sense or won't help. For example, the short selling rule doesn't make sense because Investors and speculators can still accomplish the same effect by using other instruments. Short selling, however, is faster. In the case when the rule is not credible. Again, the short selling rule is basically a signal of fear. Please do not sell short, because you may damage the system. This is like responding to a burglar in the street. Please don't take my money. I must visit my grandmother who is in the hospital. Or to the street gang. Please don't hurt me. Although the right action would be to attack someone from the gang yourself. Although in the street we need police, the police role in organization is not very credible or productive. There must be other ways to motivate people to do something. Chapter 9. Safe Times with Self-Defense Weapons. When it comes to military self-defense, people have this idealistic notion that we should only use our fists and legs and ignore all else. This is all well and good in theory, but do you really think that the average thug cares much for chivalric ideas or fair play? Get one thing straight. Once someone attacks you, they waive all rights to a fair fight. In the streets, it is hurt or be hurt, and the only thing that matters is getting home safe. Besides, when someone is endangering your very life, the last thing you should be thinking about is whether you should use a bottle in self-defense. That is not to say that you should be carrying around knives or guns. If you use either, even when attacked, you will have a hard time explaining your actions to the courts. It is best to be smart and elect to use a non-lethal weapon so that you can win the battle but not go to jail. Even something as simple as a baton is extremely effective. The problem is that you need to know how to wield it, which takes practice. Although it is an excellent self-defense weapon, failure to utilize it properly could see the thug take it off you and use it to their advantage. Therefore, don't swing wildly with it. Instead, use it to jab hard at their knees or ribs. A solid connection is virtually guaranteed to take the fight out of them. If you feel that a baton is too big an object to carry with you, there is always the option of pepper spray. They emit a foul chemical in an attacker's face, causing them temporary blindness which allows you to easily make your escape. They are one of the most popular women's self-defense products because of their ease of use and the fact that they are easily concealed within a handbag. The effect of the spray may take a second or two, so be sure to get out of the way of the thug's wild swings after you sprayed him. It may not be wise to use this item in windy conditions, as this could reduce its effectiveness. Stun guns are an even better way to halt an attack. They can be carried in a wrist strap or down by your waist like a regular gun. Clever designs ensure that it has the appearance of a cell phone in some instances. While advocates of strongman military self-defense may be opposed to it, the prongs on the end of the stun gun are used to fire out 100,000 or more volts right into the attacker's body. This shock messes up their neurological system, rendering them immobile for several minutes. Don't listen to anyone who speaks out against self-defense weapons. They are the most effective way to survive an attack which is your only objective. They are especially useful if confronted by a gang of hoodlums. While you also need to learn close combat training moves, you should always have a non-lethal weapon by your side just in case. The truth about personal self-defense weapons. A simple definition for the term self-defense weapon. Self-defense, the act of defending one's person or interests from harm by the use of physical force or argument. Weapon, an instrument or device used to inflict harm on another, either for attack or defense. So for the purpose of this book, we'll consider a self-defense weapon to be any instrument or device used to defend yourself from physical harm or attack. Simple enough. Personal defense weapons come in many shapes and sizes. In fact, Just about anything you use to defend yourself could be considered a self-defense weapon. So rather than creating a list of self-defense weapons, which is practically endless, I'll just go over some of the concepts that are common for all of these devices. First, let's talk about what a self-defense weapon is not. A self-defense weapon is not an animate object with a mind of its own. In other words, it doesn't think for itself, and it doesn't sit there, coiled up, waiting for the opportunity to strike at someone. A self-defense weapon is a tool, no more. And being a tool, what it does depends entirely on what you do with it. A weapon can be very useful for keeping you safe. However, you've got to remember a few certain things. Number 1. A self-defense weapon is not magic. Once you have a weapon, it doesn't mean you're automatically safe. So don't go walking into a bad section of town in the middle of the night, carrying a big handful of money. And don't flip off the local gang leader just because you have a weapon in your pocket. Number 2. You need to learn how to use your self-defense weapon. And even more important, you need to have confidence in your ability to use it. Just having a weapon doesn't mean it'll be any help at all. This is actually a big problem among the uninformed. Military and law enforcement research confirms that people who lack confidence in a technique or device will not resort to it in a stressful situation. Many people have been seriously hurt in violent encounters with a personal self-defense weapon right in their hand. In the stress of the moment, they didn't think to use it or doubted its ability to impact the situation. Perhaps they were afraid that it would only make matters worse. So if you're thinking of carrying a personal self-defense weapon, make sure you're prepared to learn how to use it and practice to become skillful with it. You also need to be prepared to use the device aggressively on a predator to protect yourself. Never carry a personal safety weapon with the intent to bluff your assailant. This is one sure way to have your weapon taken away and used against you. So if you are not prepared to use it decisively, don't carry it. Number 3. Weapons don't work if you aren't holding them. You've got to keep your eyes open and pay attention, and you need to know how to carry and use your weapon of choice, because if you don't, you may not get a chance to use it. A gun doesn't help if it's still in the holster, and a pepper spray or a stun gun isn't too useful if it's still in the bottom of your purse or in the kitchen drawer at home when you get attacked. So when you carry a weapon for self-defense, make sure you can get to it quickly if the need arises. People seldom leave their homes thinking, "Gee, I think I'll go out and fend off a mugger or a rapist today." What happens to most self-defense weapons is the novelty wears off and they're quickly forgotten. Then they find their way to the bottom of a purse, the glove box of your car, or the back of a kitchen drawer. They won't do much good there, so ask yourself, is the device you are considering something practical enough to carry with you all of the time? Number 4. Nothing works 100% of the time. Overinflated claims and quick-fix promises are everywhere in the self-defense business. Many gadget salespeople and wannabe self-defense experts exaggerate the benefits and capabilities of their systems and products. You need to understand and acknowledge the limitations of a self-defense weapon and have a backup plan. Keep in mind that nothing is ever 100% effective all the time. Even a gun is only 99% effective. Sometimes people get shot, but they still don't go down. Yet I don't know anyone who would say a gun isn't effective. So knowing that nothing works 100% of the time means no matter what self-defense weapon you decide to carry, you should still have a backup plan for defending yourself, just in case. Number 5. There are laws about weapons. Lots of laws, starting primarily with laws about guns, the use of guns, carrying a gun, etc. But there are also laws about stun guns, pepper spray, knives, batons, etc., mostly having to do with when weapons may be used and under what circumstances. Do what you can to learn the laws about weapons in your area. But more importantly, use a bit of common sense. Pulling a gun on a guy because he cut you off in traffic is a no-no, and shooting someone in the face with pepper spray because they took the last donut at the meeting is not using good judgment. So when learning to use your self-defense weapon, also learn the laws regarding the weapon, and when you can and cannot use it legally. Kung Fu. Basic fist formation and punching. Dedicated training can make the forefist, comprising the first two knuckles, a potent striking weapon. Ready-made weapons can be purchased from shops, but only disciplined and prolonged effort will convert the forefists into weapons with effective striking points. Although fists are frequently used in combat, many are unaware of safe methods of fist formation or of making a forefist safe for striking, fighting, and training purposes. Making the fist. Firstly, the fingers must be firmly compacted so that, when folded, they comprise a solid mass. Hold out your hand, fingers perfectly straight, and, number 1, fold your first set of knuckles tight. Number 2, do the same with your second set. And number 3, lock these in place with your thumb. Wrap this around your first two fingers tightly. Your clenched fist should now form a compact block. When punching or striking with the forefist, do not bend the wrist. Keep it rigid and straight, otherwise it may suffer damage when you strike hard objects. Punching in horse and forward stances. In a Kung Fu horse stance, Mabu or Bao stance, Deng Shan Bu, extend your left hand forwards, knuckles upward, whilst your right hand, knuckles downward, rests. Fists clenched at your hip. The latter is the fist you will punch with first. Retract your left fist forcefully and punch forward with your right simultaneously. Your right arm brushes your ribs as it extends. Just before it reaches maximum extension, turn your forearm and wrist inwards sharply, dropping your fist slightly, increasing penetrating power on impact. Turn your left forearm and wrist inwards similarly, just before they reach the hip. Now repeat the drill using the other arm. Points to remember. Keep your back straight, shoulders dropped, and chin at 45 degrees throughout. Tense your hips as you punch, and remember, harder left arm pullbacks mean more powerful right hand punches, and vice versa. Practice 20 repetition sets in both stances. Punching and breath control. Link your punching and breathing rhythms together. Inhale before punching and exhale forcefully and audibly when punching. This latter action tenses your abdominal muscles, increases the resistance to counter strikes, and the coordination of mind, breathing, and body considerably increases your endurance and the focus of your punching. Notes. Number 1. These are both Shaolin, long fist, Changchuan, Kung Fu basic stances. Number 2. From a right leg forward, bow stance, your first punch is a lunge punch, and your second, a reverse punch. Practice punching in both left leg and right leg forward versions of this, and also in a horse stance. Karate and fitness. 5 weapons of your body. There's a startling fact that many Americans don't realize. 1 in 6 of every American women will become the victim of sexual assault in their lifetime. That's a scary statistic, but it's true. Fortunately, for many women, it's an avoidable event that can be controlled if the necessary steps are taken to prepare, such as enrolling in women's self-defense classes or karate. Women have the ability, just as men do, to fight back and control a situation where someone is attempting to make them a victim. It isn't necessary to carry a weapon like a taser, pepper spray, or even a handgun. These can all be turned against you if an attacker gets a hold of them in a scuffle. Your body, however, cannot be taken away from you. That's why karate provides such a massive benefit to anyone interested in learning to defend themselves. Let's take a quick look at the 5 weapons located on your body. Your legs. When it comes to martial arts and karate, the legs are important because they provide the balance and keep you grounded. However, they're also great for making a clean getaway if the situation allows for it. If you can do so, run away. Your voice. The voice is a powerful weapon, whether you believe it or not. It can be a morale buster to an attacker when you take an imposing martial arts stance that you learned studying karate and add in a blood-curdling scream. When you let someone know you're ready for battle, they are then forced to make the decision on whether to follow through with the attack or take off. Your knees. The knee is ideal for striking, especially the groin. If you're not able to break free from an attacker and the initial scream isn't working, then start working in your close-range weapons and get the knee into the groin. Whether a man or a woman, the knee to the groin is a great way to break free and gain leverage in the assault. This can double over the attacker, and from there you can either run away or deliver more hits. Your elbows. You can use the elbow in a variety of ways when you take into consideration the moves and positions you've learned throughout karate. You can strike at the chin, head, belly, throat, and groin, depending on the position you find yourself in. The elbow is a dense bone and can do considerable harm to an attacker when you consider the leverage you have when striking. If you're attacked from behind, for example, a sharp elbow to their torso can knock the breath from their chest and leave them disoriented. Your hands. This includes the fists and fingers. Karate relies heavily on strikes, both with open hand, closed fist, and the fingers. You can get fingers into the eyes, which will send the attacker's head backward, opening up other areas to strike, such as the throat. Chapter 10. Learn to defend yourself. There is a huge difference between a fight and a self-defense situation. Do you know the difference between a fight and self-defense situation? Many people don't. In fact, I would say that most people actually believe these two to be the same thing, and yet they're not. Knowing the difference between a fight and an actual dangerous situation where you are trying to defend yourself can not only help you to ensure that you are learning the right self-defense techniques, but also that you're enrolled in the right self-defense course. Do you want to know the difference between a street fight and a self-defense situation? Then read on. While martial arts schools and so-called experts, people who have never been in a real attack situation, whose only experience with fighting might have come from a pushing, shoving, tough guy match in high school, will try to convince you that there isn't a difference at all. And yet, the truth is that there is a world of difference between a fight and a self-defense situation. Every expert knows this because, unlike those who only know martial art techniques, these people have actually been there and know what it's really like inside of the actual thing itself. And while an inexperienced instructor might give you lots of reasons for how and why these two different situations might be different, a true expert will keep it simple and make sure that you know the reasons that are the most important, the reason that will affect your training and keep you safe and alive in the moment that you are in one. They would tell you that, in one, the fight, you are a willing combatant who is usually evenly matched against an opponent of equal ability, size, etc. In the other, a life-threatening self-defense situation, you will almost always be the underdog, facing an assailant who does not fight fair has probably surprised you when you weren't expecting anything, and will do anything to get what he wants from you, regardless of whether that's blood, your money, or your life. Even the adrenal response that you're having is very different in those two situations. In fact, you can learn a lot about this adrenal response and the fight, flight, or freeze response in the book, The Karate Myth. But the short version is that the difference is like wrestling with your brother or cousin as a kid versus being in a car crash. Everything is different, from the way your body responds to signals to the way you see the world around you. The point here is that before you can begin to train against an attack, you must have someone who has actually been there, in one, to help you understand it, to know what you are going to be dealing with from the inside. Even better would be to find a mentor who has been in many different types of attacks, from punching and kicking to being grabbed to having had to face knives and duck bullets. Because until you learn what you're going to be dealing with, everything you do will be like feeling your way around in a dark room. You'll have no idea what's going on, where you're going, or what you'll run into. Conclusion: pepper spray is an easy-to-use and effective self-defense weapon. If used properly, it allows the victim time to escape while the attack is incapacitated. The effects of pepper spray or mace wear off in about 15 to 90 minutes, and it is relatively harmless. Since there is no threat to life or long-term side effects, the average citizen is willing to use it if necessary. Pepper spray is legal to purchase and use in all 50 of the United States, with certain restrictions in the 7 states of California, Massachusetts, Michigan, New York, New Jersey, Washington, and Wisconsin. These restrictions either limit the percentage of active agent, the size of the container, or need for a firearms identification card or license to carry firearms. Almost all states require an adult of 18 years of age to purchase. Shipping of pepper spray is limited in that it is a compressed gas and has to meet DOT standards for handling of compressed gases. In the future, we'll be offering advanced courses in knife defense and handgunning for home defense at select self-defense black belt program locations. So be sure to sign up for our newsletter on our site to stay informed on when those courses become available.